Today we're going to learn about Git. Now, what's Git? Git allows you to kind of keep track of your files and what they're doing and like the edits you make. And it's pretty cool because you can kind of jump back in history or like fix something that you totally screwed up, and it's very helpful for a lot of developer stuff. So the first half of the workshop, we're going to kind of talk about how Git keeps track of your files and the changes to them. Then we'll do some stuff in our terminal in here, which will look super hackery, which will be awesome. And then we'll go ahead and upload this stuff to GitHub using Git as well. So yeah, cool. Let's get started. So yeah, so first I'm going to talk about how Git keeps track of your files. And this is just an example where, let's just say you have a folder, and inside that folder you have this one file, hi.txt, and within it is written content. So when it starts out, Git just says, hey, this file is unmodified. And then when you make a change, it automatically sets it as modified. And it keeps track of that itself. Then when you want to tell Git that these changes are important, then you have to stage it. Now, what's staging? Staging just means you telling Git that these changes are important. And when you tell Git that these changes are important, you can make something called a snapshot or a commit. Now, when you make a commit, that's when you start your history. So you're going to have history of these snapshots. And a snapshot is just your files at one point in time. So as you can see here, I told Git that this change was important. That content changing to content was important with git add. Then I told Git that, hey, take a snapshot of this time. So now I have this snapshot here, and this is my history snapshot, or also known as a commit. So just to go through that process again, I can modify it again, and I can tell Git that these changes are important by adding them. And then I can commit again, and that creates another snapshot. And what's cool is that these snapshots are connected in history. You have like this running history of snapshots or commits. And you can keep doing that and keep creating commits. But what's cool is, as you can notice, let's just say I was here and I wanted to bring it back to content or something. Then what I can do is, rather than going ahead and modifying it and committing it and everything, I can actually just backtrack to this commit. And that's the power of Git. You can mess up really badly and still be totally fine. So that's why it's really helpful. So that was a lot of stuff at once. So let's try actually doing this and see how it works. So yeah, we haven't talked about GitHub yet because first we're talking about what Git does locally with your own files before we actually put them on the internet. So now let's open up your terminal or command prompt if you're on Windows. And you should see something similar to this. And for those of you who may have not used the terminal yet, you can basically, it's like the same as your file explorer. It's basically the same exact thing. So if I were to go to here, I am basically in the same place. So if I do ls, I can list what's in my directory. And if you notice,
on Windows, DIR. I put that in there if somebody's using it.
Good point. Yeah, on Windows, this would be dir, like Maxim was saying. So if you notice, this is all the same. Like this is just listing, just like it is in Finder or File Explorer. So we can go into our documents with CD. CD means change directory. And now you'll notice if I go into documents here and I list my files, ls or dir, you'll notice that they're exactly the same again. So command prompt is just a super fancy file explorer. But what's cool about the command prompt is that you can run commands. So now that we're a little more familiar with the terminal, let's get our files from our REPL. So a lot of you probably have your files for your personal website on a REPL or something like that. And if not, maybe you have them locally. That is fine too. So I'm just going to download my files. So then I have some files to work with. Cool. I'm just going to, I actually did this beforehand, so let's do that. And then I'll open them up. And now I have this folder. So yeah. So here it is.
How did you download them?
Yeah, so if you click this three dots here and download as zip.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
That allows you to download them. So let's go back here. I think I created a folder inside a folder. That's on me, but let's see. Okay, yeah. So here are my files after I extracted them inside personal website, which is what I called it. So let's navigate to this in terminal. So documents for me, it's in coding/git. And then if I see here, I have my personal website. So let's CD or change directory into personal website. Okay. So how are people feeling? I'll just check chat real quick.
Let's get reactions. Thumbs up if we're good so far.
Yeah, I like that. So at this point, you should.
We're not good. We should stop.
Yeah. At this point, you should be in the folder in your terminal where your files are.
Mine keeps saying it doesn't exist, but
Okay.
my file, should I just like move it to my documents, or is there a way to, because it's in my downloads right now. So
Oh, okay. So what you can do is rather than going into documents like I had, you can just go into downloads.
Okay.
So that would look like this. So let's go all the way back. If you do CD space ... that allows you to go back. So I can do that twice, or sorry, more than twice. So now I can go into my downloads instead. Oops. Perfect.
Sorry, how did you download it from REPL again? I kind of like blanked out.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. So you see these three dots here? So you click this and download as zip.
And again, if you're on a Windows, you'll get them as a compressed folder, so you might need to extract them first. All these little caveats, but
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Well, I'm on command prompt. So what's the next thing I type after dir?
So you would want to go to the folder that has your files. So you would want to do CD into wherever your files are. So let's just say your files are in, let's just start from documents. Let's just say you put them into documents. Then you'd want to CD documents and then CD into whatever folder that is.
Oh, so I saved it on desktop, and when I did cd desktop, it says that the system cannot find the path specified.
Okay,
You might already be on the desktop, to be honest. I would do dir and check if your folder's in there.
Okay.
And another thing you can do if you need to check where you are in your computer is something called PWD. And that just tells you where you are in your file.
Okay, I'll try that.
So once I'm on the desktop, what do I have to type in to get the folder?
So it depends on what you named your folder. So in my case, mine was called personal website. In your case, it might be something else.
So I type that in, or I type the name of my folder in, and it says command not found.
So you might have to preface it with CD because you're changing directory into the folder.
Okay. Okay, yeah, it works. Thanks.
Sweet. Awesome. Cool, cool. I'll just check the chat once more. All right, I think we're pretty good, it seems like. So yeah, so now that you're in your folder where your files are, what you can do is you can do something called git init. So now what just happened? So now we have our Git repository in our folder. And that just means that Git is now tracking our files. That's all that means. Oh yeah, good point, Maxim. Yeah, directory is just a fancy word for folder.
So if I made my website using the aerial thing, should I be doing it with that one instead?
Whichever one you'd like to use, honestly. Whichever one you want on the internet. You can always do this multiple times as well, so it's not a problem. Cool. So now that we have our repository initialized, now what we can do is we can check the status of our files. So you'll notice that you have a bunch of these untracked files. And untracked is very similar to unmodified. So untracked, unmodified. You remember like this? So rather than just hi.txt, we have many files. In this case, about, index, script, and styles. Those are just my files. So now that we see that these are untracked and they are modified, however. So as you can see, they're in red, or they may not be for you, but these are modified files. So now we need to add them all with this command, git add -- all. And once we do that, let's just check the status again, just to see where we're at. And you'll notice that now it says something a little different, and it might have them in green. And now we're at this stage where we have staged them. So we have just told Git that these changes that we made are important. So now that we've told Git that these changes are important, we can make a snapshot in our memory.
What exactly do you mean by these changes? Like, what did we just do?
So the changes we made were these files, like they exist. So rather than not existing, they exist. So that was kind of the change we made. If that makes sense. Because Git didn't know these files existed before, but now they do exist. And that's the change that we made. in the future, if you make another change, like let's just say you add another line to a file, that would still be counted as a change. So yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Sweet. Yeah. So now we have to take these files and we want to make a snapshot in memory. So we do git commit -m, which is for message. So every commit we make has a message associated with it. And let's just say initial commit or something like that. So now you'll notice you've created these 4 files, and that's what it says. So we're now at this stage where we have our history snapshot and all of our files are once again unmodified because the modifications are calculated based on the last commit. So if we do git status again, you'll notice nothing to commit, working tree clean.
Now, every time you make a change to the files, you want to do the git commit thing.
Right, exactly. So let's just say you make a bunch of changes and you want to now save these changes. That's when you would add and commit, and that creates this snapshot. So now this is really cool, but now how do you actually work with GitHub, right? So before we talk about that, is everyone comfortable with this so far? Yeah, I like Maxim's thumbs up. Let's go with that. All right, cool. I think we're pretty good, it seems like. So, so now let's get the concepts behind working with GitHub. So now that we've created this stuff, let's go back to this PowerPoint. So, so we're all at Maxim's stage right now. So Maxim, let's just say he created this one commit, and now he wants me and Samay to take a look at it and work on it with him. So what he can do is he can actually push his commits or his history to GitHub. So the way he does that is with this git push origin master. And here, now the history, all of the commits that Maxim had are now pushed to GitHub, which is this like cloud where now the history sits and all the files therefore. So once it's in GitHub, me and Samay, we can pull it down from the cloud and put it in our laptops. And here, now we get the whole history tree right into our own laptops, and we can work on the code on our laptops. And let's just say Samay's up all night, he's grinding, he creates a bunch of commits, right? In that case, and let's just say he wants to share them with us. He can once again push origin master, and
I know.
Maxim and I can pull it.
On GitHub. I'm gonna create a repository and see what I can do.
Yeah. So that's like the general idea behind pushing and pulling from GitHub. So let's actually try doing this. So there's a little bit of setup involved, and those commands I'll guide you through as well. So first, let's go to GitHub or GitLab, whichever one you'd like to use. And if you don't already have an account, make an account. I'll give you guys like 1 or 2 minutes for that. Cool. And once you've made an account, check out this new button. We're going to create a new repository in the cloud. And let's just call this, I don't know, Git workshop, or actually in a lot of the cases, it'll be personal website. Oh, I've already created that. Personal website, Git. You can name it what you'd like. And now we're just gonna create repository. So now you should be presented with a screen similar to this, even on GitLab. And what we're gonna do is we're going to copy this link. Oops. So copy this link because we're gonna need this. This link is basically like the address of this repository in the cloud. And this allows us to like communicate with it. So let's go back to our terminal. And we first have to tell Git that this GitHub repository exists. And in order to do that, and in order to connect GitHub with our local files, we need to do this: git remote add origin, and then we paste in our link. So what this command does is that it tells Git that we need to name this repository. We add a remote and we name it origin. And origin refers to this link, which is the address of our repository. Does that make sense to everyone so far? I'll check the chat.
When we're on the create a new repository page, what are we putting in?
Oh yeah, so you just have to name the repository and click create repository.
Okay, so I put that in.
So, sorry, what are we, does it matter what we put in?
It doesn't matter what you name it. Just remember the name.
Sure.
It'll show up in over here if you see.
Okay.
Cool. So once we're at this point, now we press enter, and it doesn't really show anything. But what we've just done is we've named our remote repository origin. Now, what we can do is we have this commit, right, from before, because we did all this earlier. So we can actually push our history to GitHub. And the way we do that is git push origin master. So this means pushing to remote repository. We're pushing to origin, and we're pushing to something called the master branch. Branches are pretty interesting, a really cool part of Git, but we'll probably talk about those another time. Master branch is the one that you'll most likely be always pushing to. So when we click enter here, we're gonna get all sorts of fun text. So yeah, this is fun. And then it says to this URL that we talked about earlier. So as you can see, origin just refers to that. And now if I go back to GitHub and I refresh my page, boom, we've got all of our files. And they're officially on the internet for anyone to see. So once you guys reach there, give me a thumbs up.
Could you go back to the terminal?
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Varun, I have a quick question. So how do you know, like, for example, if Sameh were to download your files onto his computer, when he re-uploads it, will it have like index of version 1 or something like for your file name, or like how do you see the different versions?
Yeah, so basically what happens is that there's like this tree of commits, right? So, oops, where is the presentation? Oh, yeah. So yeah, so it's like this, right? So the next version is just the next snapshot. And what you'll be able to do in Git, I think you can look back at past commits. There is some way to do that, I think.
Hey Varun, do you want to like run through a live demo of either Max or I pulling your files, making a change and pushing it? Because I think some people might want to work together with other people, and it
Yeah.
might be cool for them to see that real quick.
That's a really good idea. And we can definitely do that once everyone
Yeah.
gets this and we upload to Netlify.
Wait, so when I did the git push origin master, it said like username for GitHub, and I put in my username, and then it said password, and then it was just a question mark, and it won't let me type anything.
Oh yeah, so that's a good point. Mine just automatically logs in because I've logged in before, but when you get the password, it doesn't show any letters just because it's like more secure if it doesn't, but it actually does register your typing.
Oh, okay.
So like you might just have to backspace a lot.
Okay. Okay.
In the meantime, I'll actually give Samay some access to this repository, so then you will be able to pull and push. So cool. So now that you have everything in Git, it looks like everyone seems to be on the same page. So before we do the demo with pushing and pulling, let's get everyone set up on Netlify. So if I go to Netlify and I log in, for those of you who did the tutorial or have started it, you probably already have a Netlify account. If you don't, just create one. And rather than dropping our files here, we can just click New Site from Git. So let's do that. And I want to authenticate GitHub because I've already logged in, so you didn't see the login stuff, but yeah. So now I got to search for my website, which is personal website Git. And I just click this. So once you click this, you'll get to this page. And there's a bunch of settings that don't really matter for now. And you can just click Deploy Site. Cool. So it says Site Deploy in progress. So once that finishes, you'll actually be able to visit my site from anywhere. Let's just reload. I can check the status of this in here, all this deploy stuff. And okay, here we go. Here it is. So if I click on this, I see my site. And if any of you went to this URL, you'd be able to see this. I'm going to just rename the site real quick because I don't want it to be goofy pasture. So let's go to overview, site settings, and I want to change my site name. Let's just say Jindal Git. So if any of you go to bornjindalgit.netlify.app, you'll be able to see this. Give me a thumbs up if you were successful. Sweet. Awesome, awesome. Looks like we got some websites going. All right. So now that we've done that, now you have your website on the web. Let's do something interesting. Let's have Sameh pull this, and then once he pulls, he's gonna make a change. And then once he makes a change and pushes it, we'll see how it updates on this site automatically.
Sweet.
So Sameh, if you want to share your screen, that would be awesome.
Sure. I think you disabled it.
Ah, okay, let's do that. Okay, sweet. Yeah.
Can you send me the link of your repo?
Oh yes, good point.
Oh, yes.
So,
What do you want to see?
so I'm just
Oh,
sending.
I actually have it right now. Okay.
Oh, he's got it.
So I'm on Varun's repo. He gave me access to push to it. Anybody on the internet can read these files, but I want to be able to edit these files. So what I want to do right now is I'm going to go to my terminal. I'm just going to reopen a new terminal window. And I am going to go to my desktop because I want to put his files on my desktop. And I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to do something called Git Clone. Okay, Git Clone. And Clone will allow you to copy all the files from the cloud to my computer. So this would be, you don't have to follow along. This would be if you're working with somebody else. It's just cool to see how it would be done. So I'm going to go copy his URL for the repo that I want to edit. I'm going to go to my terminal. I'm going to type in, right now I'm in desktop, so I want the folder to show up on my desktop. So I'm going to type in Git Clone and then paste in the URL of his GitHub repo. Enter. And now if I look at my desktop, it should be here, personal website Git. If you can see that, that is Varun's repo, and I've downloaded all his files. Now I'm just going to open it in VS Code and make a quick change to it, just so we can show you how the whole committing process would work from my end. So just waiting for this to load. Put this in. There we go. So we have all his files here. What should I change? What should I change? Maybe I'll just change a style or something.
Put your name in it.
Oh yeah, let's do that. Well, let's put Maxim's name because it was his title. So I'm going to hijack Varun's website, and I'm going to change that. This is only the title on the top. Oh, but he has this name tag thing, the typing thing. So I'm going to make sure not to forget to change that as well. So now it's going to type out Maxim's name instead of Varun's. Save that. I'm going to save that too. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my terminal. Now everything is saved. I'm going to do that git status thing to see what I changed, like how Varun showed at the beginning of the workshop. I'm not even CD'd into my directory. So that's why it says it's not a Git repository. So what I need to do is I need to type in CD personal website Git, because that was the name of his repo. Enter. Now I'm in. I can do ls to see what files are inside this folder, but I'm going to run git status to see what I changed. And it says I'm on modified 2 files, index.html and script.js, which is correct. I'm going to do the same process. I'm going to type in git add. I know Varun did this, git add -- all, but you can also do git add space dot, and that does the same thing. So I'm going to do that. So now everything is added, and I need to give it a commit message. So I'm going to say git commit -m Samays changes. Enter. So it says 2 files changed, 2 insertions, 2 deletions, because I deleted 2 portions of a line and added 2 characters on 2 different lines. So I'm going to do git push origin master. And once I click enter, the changes will push to the GitHub repo. And I'm going to hand it back to Varun to show how his site is automatically updating.
Sweet. Yeah. So now I'll share my screen again. So now if we look at GitHub, we notice once I reload, some of these changes are here. So that's pretty sweet. And then now if we go to Netlify, it's all integrated. So let's go to overview. Let's reload. And we'll notice that some of these changes have already been published. So if I go here and I reload, boom, Maxim Geller. So yeah, so that's kind of like a little demo for how you would go about working with someone. And yeah, so that's like most of the workshop actually. The rest of the time is just pretty much like questions you might have, and hopefully we can answer them. So yeah.
Hey, Varun, do you think so you can show just like not only the code, but the try and light repo and show the commit history so you can show like how we're all working together and just scroll through everything? I feel like that would be really cool for them to see.
That's a sweet idea. So yeah, so this is actually the site that we're working on. And if I remember correctly,
you can click on 489 commits over there.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, yeah, perfect. So yeah, so as you can see, we have a bunch of commits. So this is like things that we're working on and stuff. And there's things where we like merge them. If you check out the tutorial on Enlight, you can learn about merging. But yeah, this is basically how you work with people. And it makes it super nice because, for example, let's try to find some time where we were panicking or something. I don't know. Sometimes like things get messed up, and it's really nice to be able to go back and see what went wrong. You can literally go back to a commit and like work from there. And like, you can also work on 2 different versions of the same code at the same time, which is super crazy. And that you can do with branches, which are definitely talked a lot about in the tutorial on Enlight. So definitely check that out if you're interested. But yeah, Maxim Geller's site.
I got a glow up, huh?